I feel like in the
It's just
Eastern
tough.
Conference, the Celtics are still the team to beat. Yeah. Of the Sixers, Knicks, or Bucks, who do you think poses the biggest threat to them?
Being honest, it is the New York Knicks. I see the way that the Philadelphia 76ers are building out the rest of their roster, and right now where I don't hate it, I just look at the fact of you have so much turnover from the last season for the New York Knicks. On top of it, you add Mikal Bridges. The team chemistry is already through the roof. We already know that. But in terms of fit and gelling together, there was no better player to add than Mikal Bridges. You needed another guy that could space the floor. You needed another guy that could be that secondary creator. And you needed another guy on the wing to play defense against the Jays. To pair that alongside OG Anunoby, who is arguably the best role player in basketball, who did just get a great amount of money, an exceeding amount of money that I never anticipated he would get. Happy for him. You do lose IH. That's bitter. There's no sweet. It sucks, truthfully. But God willing, Mitchell Robinson can be healthy. The X factor is Julius Randle. If Julius Randle plays the way that he did in consecutive playoff series that he's been in, they're not going to really have that true chance that I feel like they can have. It's all on his shoulders. He needs to raise his game up a level, but with the depth that the New York Knicks have, to me, it becomes simple when you probably have DiVincenzo coming off the bench. Josh Hart can maybe even flirt with the idea of coming off the bench. There are so many different rotations that the Knicks can go with. They're so deep. They're so versatile. I think Thibodeau gets slighted every single year when we talk about head coaches. Truthfully, we're talking about a top 5 head coach in Thibodeau. You want to talk about player development? There is really almost no one I would rather want than Tom Thibodeau, with the way that he's been able to maximize Brunson, with the way that he was able to get IH $30 million a season, revitalize Mitchell Robinson's career. I'm going with the New York Knicks. I think that they have a lot of continuity off last season. They have an amazing star player in Jalen Brunson who shows come playoff time, I am reliable. They have a bunch of guys here who have been healthy for majority outside of, unfortunately, OG Anunoby and Mitchell Robinson. And Julius Randle, who's really been a model of health for a majority of his career outside of last season where he did have that shoulder injury. So I'm going to go with the New York Knicks. I just think that they have too much going for them and they're too deep of a roster.
I think that's fair, and I'm going with the same answer. I'm going with the New York Knicks. I just have question marks around the Sixers and the Bucks' depth. That's the biggest thing with me. And this is not a disrespect. Sorry.
Imagine we just...
That would be
our
crazy.
whole
Thank God it was
setup
close.
would have been done.
Can you hear yourself?
Yeah, I can.
You hear me?
No, it's perfectly fine.
Okay.
It's perfect.
Because I
you
can't
can't
hear that
you?
shit no more. No cap. I cannot hear that shit no more.
Did you hit this? There you go. You're here
Oh,
now.
yeah. Facts. I am here. Thank you, Joe.
Gotcha.
So this is not a disrespect to the Boston Celtics, but when I look at every team in the Eastern Conference,
Make my day.
what team poses the biggest threat to them? The Sixers, they don't have the depth. They got the star power. They don't got the depth. The Bucks, they don't have the depth. It's the New York Knicks. This team is built to beat a team like Boston. And there's something that the Knicks have that the Bucks and the Sixers don't have. That's belief.
And aura?
That's a will to win.
Aura?
That's
Where's the will to
believing
win against the Pacers?
that I could beat this
God.
team. We were hurt. That's why.
That's fucked up.
The guys that believe weren't on the court. How about you show some
Jalen
goddamn
Brunson
respect
broke
to the
his
Knicks?
fucking hand.
They were up 2-0 and they could have gone up 3-0. I'm sorry, you can't just throw that away.
Andrew Nemhart had a out-of-body
It's a hooper.
experience.
The real
Nah,
point guard
he-
Indiana.
Oh, shit.
Andrew
What about TJ
Nemhart
McConnell?
has my respect.
TJ McConnell.
The real two guard of Indiana.
When I look at the Sixers, I look at a team that's led by Joel Embiid that has never been able to beat Boston in the playoffs in his career. I don't think it starts now. And when a team has your number in that way, you kind of start to not believe you can beat them anymore. You have the Milwaukee Bucks. They just got injuries.
You're
that's
a
their
funny
problem.
fucking
What do you
guy.
mean? What
you know
are
why
talking
you're
about?
smirking. I mean, you know why.
I know. I don't know why.
How many times have we said straight face to you, they simply own the Philadelphia 76ers? I don't know, man. Something about it. I just feel good about the 76ers. I think Joel Embiid is just inevitable. Sometimes you can only get beat so much. And now suddenly, they just got their number. You know, they just can't.
He fears us now.
Yo, really, it took you guys winning a championship
Fears
for him
us.
to really feel it.
We got the respect.
He feels it now.
I mean, long deserved. Didn't take
'Cause
a
I
genius
slept
to figure
on
that
it.
out.
Every time you say that shit, I gotta respect it.
I look at the Sixers, I think, just put themselves as one of the best teams in the East. Knicks versus the Sixers, pound for pound, top 10 players between both teams. Embiid is number 1. Jalen Brunson is number 2. Tyrese Maxey is number 3. Paul George is number 4. Then 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 are all New York Knicks players. Mikal, OG, Josh Hart, Dante, Mitchell Robinson. We just have a way better team than them. And against the Celtics, you need this type of depth top to bottom. And we got 2 wing stoppers. How do you beat the Celtics? It's by having wing stoppers. The Sixers, they only have Paul George, which is great. But the second guy now you got to rely on is Kelly Oubre. That's not even on the same trajectory. With the Bucks, they have no defense whatsoever. The New York Knicks actually have the personnel to guard Boston as good as any team can guard them in a playoff setting, and that's why they're the biggest threat to them.
The Knicks have the ability to guard the Celtics, but I don't think they have the ability to score enough points to beat the Celtics. I think the only way
He forgets what Brunson did.
I think
to
the
him.
only way Boston gets beaten, really in the foreseeable future, is by a team that has a dominating big. And you have Boston who has a banged up KP, an older Al Horford. That's really the path that I see Boston losing in the foreseeable future. And the reason why I wanted to bring Randle into this conversation is because I think Drew's right. You know, we're discussing whether Randle is going to even be on this team. I see both arguments, but I think the only way New York is able to make any sort of run is with Randle on this team. Because if you remove him, you're now removing your secondary creator. And everyone's going to be able to load up on Jalen Brunson. I don't think you're trading Randle and getting someone back that has the same sort of offensive skill. I don't know if that's the trade that New York is looking to make. I would assume it's more so you could get some salary cap relief. You're hitting up against that second apron soon. So if you remove Julius Randle from this team, sure, Mikal Bridges, OG, Josh Hart, all these dudes could defend. They got the Jays. That's a perfect matchup for the Jays. But then I'm going on the other side. Who is creating for the Knicks outside of Jalen Brunson? Mikal Bridges, OG Anunoby, Dante DiVincenzo, all of these dudes. They can all hit shots. They could all hit threes. They could all space, but not many of them can create their own shot. So I think it makes it very easy, like we saw against Dallas this past finals, where Boston, we're going to play one-on-one up, straight up with your best guy, whether that's Jalen Brunson, Luka, Kyrie. We're going to play one-on-one, and we think our guys can guard you as good as anybody else. You're going to have Drew Holiday, Derek White, Jaylen Brown, and Tatum all seeing Jalen Brunson. That is an incredibly difficult situation to deal with. And then if Porzingis is healthy, now you have an elite rim protector. With that being said, I still think the Knicks probably have the best chance just because it's hard for me to trust those other units. It's hard for me to finally, this is the year Joel Embiid is healthy, and finally this is the year Paul George moves to the third option, and now he really settles in. He has a great playoff setting. For the Bucks, Doc Rivers figures it out with Giannis and Dame. Chris Middleton's able to stay healthy. They're going to be losing Malik Beasley unless he comes back for the minimum, so I don't really know who's getting put in to that starting rotation. The depth around them is very sketchy. So I would still say New York is the team to do it, plus coaching. I think I trust Tibbs over those two coaches as well. But I just think offensively, New York would have a very difficult time. I probably would have Tibbs.
Name brand. What do you guys say?
Is that crazy to say?
What
he said? Tibbs over O'Nurse?
I mean, I think they're in the same tier.
I'm fine with that. I just feel like Tibbs gets deemed this bad coach, one of the worst coaches in the league. That's just wildly wrong.
Somebody tweeted Kuminga better become Grant Hill for the injury.
Nah, I'm dead.
You saw they actually didn't involve Kuminga in the Paul George trade?
I don't know if that was true because Dunleavy said they did.
Oh, when he said that?
When it came out, when we got denied on Sunday.
He came out, he had a press conference or something?
Nah, it was like some shit on Bleacher Report. I seen it.
Oh, yeah, it's probably, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because I seen that they didn't involve Kuminga either.
Yeah, I don't know. They failed. But it's a tricky question because I think everything at this point, if you're not Boston, is matchup dependent. But I think in terms of these teams, I don't know why the Bucks keep getting talked about with injuries. Philly keeps getting talked about with injuries, and we forget basically the Knicks just dealt with a shit ton of injuries against the Pacers. And that was one of the reasons that they lost that series. Every man just went down for them.
The only reason.
OG has still been banged up with an injury. Like, this is another team that just dealt with injuries this playoff run. We usually see Giannis pretty healthy come playoff time. Same thing with Dame. The only real issue there is Middleton. I think in terms of play style and how to stop Boston, I do like the idea of a dominant big man being able to go down there and cause trouble. Unfortunately, I just don't trust Philly's depth. I don't like the players after their big three, and I don't know if they're going to be able to get better players. I do think the idea of getting Embiid, playing the double team, he has improved as a playmaker, and having, one of the best catch and shooters in the league in Paul George, and then Maxey on the wings with other players that can defend would be a good ingredients for stopping Boston. And of course, if Embiid is healthy, he can show up. That's a dream scenario. Mm-hmm. But that situation is pretty trustworthy. As far as Milwaukee goes,
is or isn't?
Huh?
Is or isn't trustworthy?
Isn't trustworthy.
Got it.
As far as Milwaukee goes, their roster outside their big three is just nasty. I don't like it. It's old. It's aging. You know, Chris Middleton, when he's healthy, he's on
He's
one.
nice.
But when is he going to be healthy?
Facts.
Is he going to be available? You know, we just saw Dame deal with a lot last year, so he has to bounce back from his play from last year. I think the answer is easily the Knicks, but I don't even know if they can match up with Boston. You know, I do love their defensive aggressiveness. I love their dynamic duo. Is OG going to be able? Is he going to be available for that series? That's the question you got to ask. And on top of that, will they be able to score enough? Will Randle be able to elevate in the playoffs? 'Cause I think outside of Brunson, I think Boston's going to be able to defend New York pretty well. You know, just trust their guys one-on-one.
Julius
When
too?
Brunson, I'm saying if Randle isn't showing up.
Gotcha.
You know, Brunson one-on-one, I think they'll be fine with the guys they have. And that's a tough matchup. You know, so I think Randle, he's really the X factor. I don't know if they will trade him, but he's such a big X factor for this team because if he's not being that number 2 creator, I think Boston really is going to, you know, find that an easy matchup. In terms of the defensive end, you know, we watched them be not inefficient, but we watched one of their best players be inefficient for the finals, and they still able to be win that series. You know, this team is just, they know how to score. They know how to find ways to win ugly, win clean, win nice. They've just found multiple ways of success with the starting five. So I think with Boston, the continuity is there. You know, the chemistry is there. The talent is there. I don't think any of these 3 teams can match up with them at this point. You know, obviously, my answer could change in April.
Mm-hmm.
My April could change in May when we actually see these
Gotta
teams on the
sleep on
floor.
it.
Sleep on it for months,
Watch
for
it.
sure. Watch,
Yeah.
you know, analyze
I love that's
it.
your new thing. I respect the
I
fuck
do
out
think
of
you
it.
have to do that. But as of right now, if I had to pick out these 3 teams, I do think none of them pose a challenge. It would probably be New York.
Julius Randle is such a weird player because his stats are amazing.
They are really good.
In 2020-2021 season, 24, 10, and 6, shot 46% from field, 41% from 3. No other player in NBA history has had these numbers outside of Larry Bird. He's the only guy to have a season like this. This past year, he averaged 24, 9, and 5. The year before, 25, 10, and 4. It's about him showing up in the playoffs, but there are really nights where Julius Randle looks like a special player.
Let me say this too. Before the shoulder injury, Julius was really starting to really find himself and his fit in the offense more so, not really trying to settle for jump shots, but really assert himself down low. If he can really become that dominant paint presence with still the ability to stretch the floor, the Knicks become almost impossible to guard. Now you have Brunson who can get downhill, shoot the midi, shoot the three-pointer. Mikal Bridges obviously can be great off catch and shoot. You know Dante DiVincenzo is one of the best three-point shooters in the game. If Josh Hart's three-point shot in the postseason can translate into an entire season next year, this team becomes crazy. And I didn't even mention OG Anunoby. The Knicks team is awesome.
You know, Randle, coming out of college, he was known for his bully ball,
Yeah.
aggressive style, playing with passion on the court. And I think if there's a group of guys to get that side out of him, it's this team.
Hell yeah.
And if he can be the best version of himself, the Knicks have a championship ceiling, but it really does rely on a guy that, even though he's a 2-time All-NBA performer, we don't even have the expectations of a role player for him when he gets into the playoffs.
He should,
because he just doesn't play well.
he should have a chip on his shoulder. Like, going after we saw all of last season, the Knicks are the Nova boys. You go and solidify it by giving OG $200 million, training for Mikal. Julius Randle was, at one point in time, the New York Knicks, right? In that 2021 season, that 2020-2021 series, you were seeing him, first time you guys made the playoffs in how many years, where he was the dude. Then you bring in Jalen Brunson. Now all of a sudden this is his team, which I think fair enough. But Julius Randle should kind of feel like, I have to prove to, I think, myself, the team, and the rest of the NBA that I could come in and fit seamlessly, because we're having this discussion because we don't know if he's just going to fit perfectly, because he has had issues in the playoffs with inefficiency. Even during stretches of the regular season where he goes cold and sometimes doesn't have the best body language. When you have a team that is, for lack of a better word, just always is so positive and it's just the vibes are always so high, and even when things are going wrong, you know, they're still sticking together. I think you're hoping that Randle could come into this season and say, I want to be a part of this. I want to contribute to this team.
The Knicks
I just read something that the Spurs are trying to get Markin.
Laurie?
that'll be a
That would
good
be
The
awesome.
Warriors
That'd be a good
are
move.
chasing them.
shit. Chris Paul, Laurie, Victor Wembanyama.
Who did you say first?
Sheesh.
That could be a
Chris
10
Paul.
seed.
That's fine.
9.
Chris Paul might not
Why do you
start.
pretend like Chris Paul's garbage?
The lack of respect.
If they got Laurie, are they a playing team?
Nah, he's starting.
The Spurs.
Ooh.
Chris Paul's starting.
Oh God.
Oh yeah, you know he's
Locked.
He averaged 12
If they
points,
get
7
Laurie
assists
and the
as a
Warriors
starter
don't
last
get
year.
anyone, who would be better? The Spurs or the Warriors?
You would probably. I mean, it's Wemby versus Steph. You know who I'm going with.
Wemby?
Wemby?